Hello everyone, Mrs. Barzy here. I just wanted to take a couple moments to talk about a couple of concepts related to the ancient Greeks that wasn't quite mentioned in a lot of detail in the video. One of which is a polis. So a polis is actually another name for a city-state. You may have heard of Metropolis or Porkopolis or something like that, which is what Cincinnati is often referred to. And it just means city. It literally means city. As you saw in the video, that a lot of our words come from ancient Greece. This is definitely one of them. So a polis or a city-state is a tiny independent country, specifically in Greece. So one of the key things you want to remember in Greece is that historians refer to Greece as basically one giant group of people. However, they were actually made up of a few various city-states that ran their own government and often acted very independent of each other. This was due to the geography. So we'll talk a little bit more about the geography in another lesson, but because of the geography, because of the mountainous ranges, because of the fact that a lot of Greece was either made up of islands or on a peninsula, they weren't necessarily close to each other. So these city-states weren't right next door to each other. The only thing that these city-states really had in common was the fact that they spoke Greek. Hence why historians usually just refer to all of these people as the ancient Greeks. There were definitely different timelines for each of the different city-states in regards to when they developed and how long they reigned and when they fell. But as a whole, historians tend to group all of them together, like I said previously. So that geography, just kind of pointing that out here, how did the geography of ancient Greece contribute to the formation of the independent polis? Because of their geography, you're going to have very independent city-states. They have their own way of doing things. They have their own religion. They have their own government, all of that good stuff. This is also going to lead to some potential conflict, right? So when you have people that have different cultures and they don't necessarily take the time to understand each other, oftentimes you're going to have warring between the different city-states. One of the biggest wars that you may have heard about was the Peloponnesian War between various city-states. So they didn't always get along. They did trade with each other sometimes, and sometimes that was mutually beneficial. Sometimes it was peaceful trade. But they also traded not in a peaceful way. Sometimes one group would attack the other and so on and so forth. And they would trade and interact and share goods and those kinds of things. But sometimes it was by force. The other word that goes along with polis that we just talked about, a city-state, is the word acropolis. Acropolis. And all that means is actually a high city. So an acropolis was a location within a polis. So this was an area that was actually geographically higher than any other area of the city. What are the benefits to this, you may ask? Well, it's fortified. Think about if you've ever studied any sort of military operation. When it is fortified, or when you have the high ground, it's going to be a lot easier to defend than when you have the low ground. So this acropolis would be the place that all of the people of the city-state would go to in case of an emergency or in case of an attack. It also happened to be a very important place where they would keep religious monuments, all of that good stuff. Here's just a little bit more information on the Acropolis, as well as some images of the Acropolis. Many of the polis did have an Acropolis, although the most famous one is in Athens, and you can still check it out today. Usually it is in the center of the polis on a mound for protection of citizens. So you're going to have a lot of things that are up there on the polis, usually a religious center of some sort, usually some sort of fortification to protect individuals if they go there in a time of crisis. Sometimes you'll even have some government or city centers there and around to be able to, again, have that protection from outside forces. So now you know a little bit about what a polis is, and you also know what an acropolis is. Two pretty key important terms to understanding Greek culture and history.